This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 585.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, oral floor error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology. The technology.
Hello, everybody. This is Adam Silvey, host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. We have 3 WordCamps next weekend, which is awesome. WordCamp Lisboa, May 16th and 17th. That's in Portugal. WordCamp Johor, Bahru, or I think it's how you say it. It's the 17th, a single-day camp in Malaysia. And WordCamp Leipzig, 16th and 17th also. That is in Germany. It's become to my attention that there's been a lot more camps not in the U.S. as far as I can see. So nonetheless, that's pretty cool. If you're in those parts of the world, by all means, go and get part of the community. A lot of things happening in the community. I think there's like an uptick. I feel a new energy. And I want to actually shout out to Raquel for doing press conf. And I think that's actually pushed people back into the community as well. So that conference was 2 weeks ago by the time this episode comes out. Yeah, so segment 1 in the news. Not a lot to talk about here. Full disclosure, because I'm recording a little early. I'm gone when I normally have some news to talk about here, but I'm traveling and running some weird long distance out in the desert of Arizona. So there you go. All right, moving on. Segment 2. This week, I actually sat down and interviewed Wes Tatters. And so I want to share that interview with you. He's a great guy, been around technology as long as me, if not a few more years than I have. We have a similar background as far as, creative and TV and servers and stuff. So we had a great conversation. And take a listen to the interview with Wes, and I'll come back with a tip and tool of the week after that. All right, here's Wes. Today, I am joined by Wes Tatters. According to the interwebs, Wes has had a crazy, diverse career. He has been in the IT industry for about 40 years. He looks no older than 25. How does he do it? I don't know. He started in the days before the internet was the internet. Currently, he is the managing director over at Rapid Cloud. So welcome to the Kitchen Sink WP podcast, Wes.
Pleasure to be here. Great to be on your podcast.
So, as I always start interviews with how I might know the guest, and usually I know people in person, we've met at conferences, things have changed over the last couple of years because of conferences and whatnot. And if you can't tell, Wes is not an American. He has an accent, which is amazingly sexy. Wait, that's awkward. Anyway, we have not met in person.
Awkward.
Aussie awkward, that's it. We have not met in person, but a few people actually reached out to me last year saying, you should have him on the podcast, interview him. And then by chance, someone at your team over at Rapid Cloud reached out to sponsor the podcast. Timing happened to be worked out. You all sponsored the podcast a few months ago. It was great. And now here you are. And you're actually not in Australia right now. You're actually in Arizona getting ready for press conf, the first iteration of the new thing. So by the time this episode comes out, it'll be a week or two after that. But I wish I was there with you. I really do. That would have been really cool, but I'm not there. So
it's going to be a great event. Lots of really good conversations.
It is going to be great. I'm definitely jealous. Anyway, on that note, for those who don't know you, tell us how you got here into WordPress. Like, where did you come from to get here, and how long have you been doing WordPress stuff?
Wow, I've been in the IT world for almost 40 years. As you said, I was there before the internet was a thing. When I first started programming, I'm originally a coder. I was using punch cards. I think my first university degree, course that I studied, my assignment was on those little punch cards. You punch the holes out and send it off to a data center. So I've seen some changes. I've been on a journey, but all the way through my journey, I've been adjacent to servers and adjacent to hosting infrastructure. It's kind of been a passion of my life in understanding how the internet and how server technology before that can be optimized and made performant regardless of where you are. I have an odd career that transferred from IT into media, and media back to IT, and IT back to media, and even during those journeys, in the early noughties. We produced a television series in Australia. It was a 3D animated television series one of the requirements of that was doing something that no one had ever done before, which was to build a massive data center of render farms to render all this 3D animation. Sort of 35,000 frames of animation that had to be rendered every week for a children's television series. And no one had ever tried to build a data center like that in Australia, and I think we're about the third in the world that had even contemplated it. Sort of at the TV series level. Pixar had certainly done it at the feature film level, but we were knocking these things out weekly as opposed to Pixar taking 4 years to do Toy Story. So even back then, learning what servers were and learning how technology interacted with the media space and the data space, it's always been a part of my life. I moved on from building and producing television programs into building communities. Communities and people is something I'm very passionate about. I have a background in media and in journalism as well, and spent a lot of time over the years talking to people, and the internet became a great tool to be able to expand that talking beyond your own neighborhood or beyond your own doors.
Right.
I was actively involved with products pre the internet like CompuServe, which was sort of like a dial-up modems for nerds.
Mm-hmm.
But even then I discovered communities and got to meet people that were outside of those small local spaces. So the communities became very important to me as well. I spent some time writing books about the internet, told people how to connect America Online and CompuServe to the internet with Schuster and Schuster. Taught people what Netscape was and taught people how to build, I think one of the first HTML website books was ever published. Laura LeMay published a book on HTML and I published a book on HTML for Netscape. We kind of did them in parallel. So being in and out, and that media background, that communications background, the IT background, sort of continually kind of merging and intersecting with each other. And then I moved into the Microsoft space, which was kind of around 1995. Microsoft launched their version of the internet called MSN. And like I'd been in the past, I was kind of there at the edge of it and intersecting with it. That led us to eventually experimenting with how you build communities on Microsoft platforms. They released a wonderful product called ASP, which is their version of how you build a web server. They launched a product called iSpy Portal, which was open source product that they released with the launch of their ASP product. And that grew into a platform called .NET Nuke, which was Microsoft's version effectively of WordPress.
Right.
Again, I was there in the middle of it. Part of that, active part of that community. I was one of the, I think, 10 or 15 MVPs around the world in that .NET Nuke space. But as the internet changed and as the dynamics of the internet changed, things like those Microsoft level platforms became much more challenging to be usable. They weren't very user friendly. Mm-hmm. You needed a degree in computer science to get the thing installed, let alone build your platform. So we started to do a lot of work in the WordPress space. And at that stage, looking at community again, came across a product early on as a community building tool, which was BuddyPress.
Right.
BuddyPress evolved and was forked by a company called BuddyBoss,
right,
into what is probably the most well-known community building product in the WordPress space right now. I think they've got 30 or 40,000 online BuddyBoss sites in the WordPress space, and they've been ahead of the curve in that ever since they started building it, doing the same thing that I'd been doing outside of BuddyBoss, which was making technology accessible. Mm-hmm. BuddyPress, notoriously hard to set up.
Right. I've tried a few
very
times.
hard.
It's a pain.
It was complex. Great tool. Mm-hmm. BuddyBoss put a theme over the top of it, put a wrapper over it. And right now, if you sign up for Buddy Boss, it's literally a one-click experience. You can build an entire Facebook-like community on WordPress with effectively a wizard that goes, yes, 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 builds it all out and runs for you. So we started working in that community space. I had some customers that were in the Microsoft space that said, hey, we want to move into the WordPress space. We started building product using Buddy Boss and a lot of other WordPress products, obviously WooCommerce and a lot of product in the learning space, LearnDash, Tutor LMS and Lifter LMS products. But every time we got into the space, we hit the same problem. And it's what, over the years, I've come to develop a concept which is effectively called the success space. Mm-hmm. And it's somewhat unique to WordPress. At the point where a WordPress site starts to get successful, it starts to have problems. Unfortunately, most of the WordPress hosting space doesn't scale very well. And it's not intended to. $5 hostings from, sort of GoDaddy or Bluehost, great ways to get into WordPress.
But those days, even those days are even kind of over. Those cheap, $1.99 a month, Yeah, I remember those days. I mean, you and I, just so you know, for your backstory, we have a lot of overlap. I was also back in the days of bulletin board systems and dial-up stuff, and my first modem was 110 baud, Yeah. And then I went into theater and then back to technology and, now here we are. But yeah, you're right. I think back when WordPress started, we're at 22 years old now, just about, right?
Just about, yeah.
You had these hosting options. Everybody was a host or a reseller of hosting. Mm-hmm. Cheap hosting, it was easy. It was $2 to $4 a month, cPanel, as many sites as you want to put on there. But once you scale, things break or slow down or stop working.
Yeah. And that, the sad thing is that, unfortunately, WordPress has gotten itself a bad name. It's gotten itself a bad name as it's okay until you get successful, or it's okay until you go viral, or it's okay until you have to seriously look at moving to a SaaS product. And sort of it's that space that I came into. As I said, I've been building these sites for customers and looking at it going, WordPress hosting isn't designed for these customers. And in every case, they were going, we need to either fix the hosting problem or we're moving to a SaaS. We're moving to Teachific or, sort of some other sort of, Mighty Networks or Circle.io type products. So I started to put that 40 years of experience in what I knew about, scalable performance hosting and put it back into the WordPress space. At around that time, Buddy Boss did something that broke themselves. They released an app, Buddy Boss, React Native, right, in the App Store, on Google and Apple. Any Buddy Boss customer could buy it, $200 a month, probably the world's cheapest app. Sort of, if you were shopping around for someone to build your app, it was $50,000 to $100,000. These guys were saying $200, $300 a month, and we can get you an app in the App Store. A lot of people jumped on board, and the success problem happened.
Right.
Even worse, because unfortunately, headless WordPress, React Native connected, and all those sorts of things is more higher concurrency than just a standard WordPress site. Because, see, it's about how the users consume it. If you think about how you view a web page, you www, okay, wait for it to load, scroll down, click a link, read that, maybe click another link, read that. And that's how we consume the web. When we stick it in an app, we go into swipe dash click. Mm-hmm. People can move through an app, 40 pages of swipes and clicks and drags in the same time that they consumed 3 pages of a web page. Every one of those swipes, clicks, likes, comments is another page request coming back at that web server.
Right.
And that poor little GoDaddy server, or that poor little, one core, sort of server on Cloudways or, wherever, starts going,
right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you've just generated 1,000 page requests in the last hour.
And honestly,
Buddy Boss,
And honestly, things are even progressing faster than we expected now because of like the AI in the app building and the vibe coding with bolts and Lovable, and there's like, every week there's 5 new services or platforms using that technology with LLMs to automate non-developers to become quote developers, air quotes of developing. You know what I mean? That's, and
unfortunately, while the code's there,
right,
it's complex.
Right.
A classic example, a Gutenberg block builder. Okay, whether you like it or whether you don't, irrelevant.
Right.
The way the Gutenberg block builder works is using Ajax. It's exactly those same Ajax requests. And we've seen sites with a lot of complex blocks and a lot of, 150 plugins. Yeah, that'll be good. We've added every possible widget and plugin known to man. And then they open Gutenberg blocks or open a page just to edit a page, and the whole site starts shaking. Of course, there's 100 Ajax requests flying out of all these blocks that are in this page they built, and their server falls over.
Right.
We've had BuddyBoss customers in the past being told by their hosting provider that, look, we've observed there's some problems in your platform, and we've got a solution for you. You need to turn off Ajax. And it's like, and the customer comes back to, and says, we've been told that we need to disable Ajax because it's impacting our server. And you go, do you understand what Ajax says? No, but our hosting company says that we need to disable it, and our server will run better. And I said, yes, it will. It'll be a nice white page.
Right. What is your, so you guys, the company you work for, I mean, at this point with RapLab, I was curious, is there a business owner, is there a parent-child relationship or a ownership?
So very simple. BuddyBoss had a problem. Tom and Mike, who are the co-founders of BuddyBoss, the CEO and CPO of BuddyBoss, approached me and said, you keep on fixing all of our customers' sites. And I would get back channel messages from, Graham, their MD, going, I've got another one. Can you have a look at it for us? So we sat down, Tom and Mike and myself and Graham, and went, is there a way to fix this properly? We talked about building a product called BuddyBoss Hosted. But as we looked into the problem and into the problem space, it's not just BuddyBoss.
Right. It's not.
Lifter LMS, Shooter LMS, LearnDash, WooCommerce sites with successful or viral events, job boards, sort of Peepso, Fluent Communities arriving now, SureDash arriving, in the future. All of these things are doing exactly the same thing, using REST and Ajax to communicate with the WordPress site.
Right.
So all of them are facing that same success problem. And we started looking at how to do this properly, how to look at WordPress hosting for dynamically built sites. Mm-hmm. There's very, very simple fix for a traditional WordPress site. Put a page cache in front of it, cache it at cloud, Cloudflare APO, Edge CDNs, Knock products, all these great products out there, Bunny CDN at cloud, all those Edge things, Breeze and Varnish type page caches. They all work fantastically when the user's not logged in or trying to go through a checkout experience where all of a sudden you've got to build the entire page and then they fall over. And that was the problem that BuddyBoss was facing. So the more we looked into it, we went, this is a bigger problem. Now, it's not a huge problem. It's a massive problem. Because, see, if you've just invested in $20,000 worth of marketing and advertising to launch your new product, and the day you launch, you discover that your GoDaddy shared hosting isn't actually going to be able to handle the 1,000 people that showed up. A, you've blown $20,000 in marketing, and B, you've got mud on your face and will probably never recover.
Right.
Sadly, that's what happened to some customers that and sites that I know quite well, or have come to know very well. They are 6- and 7-figure businesses now, running off WordPress sites.
Right.
They're not just, and they're not, sort of WooCommerce. These are e-learning products. I mean, COVID,
Changed it all.
Created a whole new industry
Right.
for sort of stay-at-home mums and people that needed a side gig and people that were going, well, I'm here for 12 months locked in my bedroom, what do I do? And they started building online communities. They started building learning products and social community products and social learning products, and they've gotten successful. And now, we've got there's a very great story of two twin brothers from Dublin, Ireland, had an idea to teach people how to cook vegan, how to prepare, built a recipe site, vegan lifestyle community site. They've now got product in the high street, in shops, and they've been involved in television series, and all grew out of an online community with some LearnDash courses going, here's how you prepare a vegan lasagna,
Right.
And those successes literally caused the same problems for them.
Right.
They hit a point where,
Full disclosure, vegan lasagna, not my thing. I want the meat.
I'm kind of, I'd have to say, kind of in the same boat, but very successful company.
Good. Yeah.
Same success problem. They were a Buddy Boss customer and still are a Buddy Boss customer, a Buddy Boss app customer. They were spending a lot of money trying to hold their hosting together, following all the recommendations and working with a really good development team. But the hosting team didn't understand, respectfully, what it meant to handle a WordPress dynamically scalable, loadable site.
Right.
And that's what Rapid became. So we, Tom and Mike, sold Buddy Boss to Awesome Motive. Sayed and the team there had been, I think, looking for a community product for some time. And the opportunity came at about the right time as we were looking to roll Rapid as a hosting product for dynamic, not just Buddy Boss sites.
Right.
And so it made it a little bit easier in some ways, because while we're still very closely related to the Buddy Boss community and very closely related to the Buddy Boss team, we're still in back channel Slacks, and we still have shared developer channels and shared deployment channels. We still we host Buddy Boss's and website and tools as well. So. But now we're a separate product dealing with that, what happens when you get successful challenge, and doing it in ways that are cost effective,
Right.
And affordable at scale. We've had people complain, oh, you're a bit expensive. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, we are, if you compare us to a $5 shared host.
Yeah, see, I don't see the same anymore. I when I tell clients, my clients, I resell. I host and I manage through my agency. I have an agency. I have the podcast. They're overlapping in some capacity. I no longer see that dollar anymore. It's just, to me, it's I'm providing a solution that needs to be a solid solution.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for. It goes back to this. You get what you pay for. It's not a matter of if, but when you may be hacked or a site goes down. How badly do you want to? What's the damage? How much is it worth to you to not have to deal with this stuff or support technology, like you said, all those things. So I paid decent money for decent hosting.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's really good comparatively to when I rolled my own server, my own. And I do have a Cloudways account. I used to have a ton of free hosting. I'll share it now. I used to have a ton of it because of people I knew in the space. But then one of my main servers got hacked, root level. It was at the company level. It wasn't just me. It wasn't targeted. But I hadn't paid for hosting reseller for years. And my designer at the time said, Adam, you need to. It's like you've had free rent. You need to get your own place.
Yeah.
So I did my research, picked the service.
You got to go find. You got to find your own shop on the high street. Yeah.
Right. So it was just a matter of, it was whack-a-mole otherwise. My clients had no idea. My profit margins were much higher than they are now, but I had to do it. But now, I know. If a site says, I'd say anywhere from $15 for a single site up to 75 to 80. It depends on what you need for bandwidth and for growth and cache, all the things. Isn't crazy anymore to me by any stretch.
No. And I guess putting it in perspective.
Yeah.
So we look at sites that have become successful. Classic example, we've got an online community based out of Ohio in the United States. It's focused on something called regenerative agriculture, which is a way of growing plants together in the same field, and they fertilize and harvest each other. So it's organic. The owner of that site is Amish. Doesn't own a computer, doesn't own a car, but does own an iPhone. So he's Amish 2.0, and realized that he needed a way to communicate with his community of people around the world about they've got probably the largest acreage or regenerative farming in the world under operation. Millions of acres of land, and they wanted a way to communicate that. They didn't want Google or Facebook or anyone else to own their data. They wanted, it to be their own closed community. They wanted an app. Buddy Boss ticked a lot of those, sort of answers for them.
Right.
But equally importantly, it's $8 a month membership. And in beta, they've got 1,000 members.
That's fantastic.
In beta.
Right. So
that's not even live yet.
Right.
So for them, whether it's $50, $100, $150, $500, even $1,000 worth of hosting.
Right. 1 month pays for a fraction. Right.
Yeah.
And I get it. So, you have to start somewhere, but you scale accordingly. Yes. But I will say it's much easier to move from hosting to hosting these days. It really is much easier.
It is
than it used to be. I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years. And just in WordPress alone, I started in I started in 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
It's way easier to do many things. Doesn't make it. Let me rephrase. It's easier for us, not for most, because they're not.
Well,
we know.
For us, it's easy.
Right.
For Rapid in particular, we just do it for them.
Right. I mean, a lot of hosts will do that for you as well.
We're entirely white glove now.
Yeah. That's why my agency is called Concierge WP.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
It's that white glove solutions.
Right.
And again, because we're in the success space.
Right.
People are going, and I will say this about many of our customers too. They're not technical.
Right.
They're there because they want to sell a product,
Correct.
Run a community, offer people a course.
Right.
They aren't. I really want to be a hosting company,
right.
or they just want it to work. They want it to be up. They want someone that's behind the scenes. One of the challenges, I guess, with small level hosting is it's very much set and forget. Shared host, you paid your $5, and everything after that's your problem.
Right. Security,
malware, uptime, all those sorts of things. At Rapid, we are completely the opposite.
Right.
You buy a managed hosting in inverted commas where we do it all for you. We'll get on the phone to you and go, hey, do you know that there's a 500 error on your site? Of course, you had automatic updates logged on. Yeah, and do you want us to fix it for you?
I use a service
as a host, not as an agency.
There's uptime services, there's downtime. So I get emails all the time. I have one client on hosting. They know it's not good hosting anymore. They have such an old package deal. I won't say who it is. It's U.S. based, but for them to move to me would cost them 2.5 to 3 times more. And they have 2 sites, so it's a nonprofit. I like them a lot, but I get an email from them from the service, from my service that backs everything up, probably twice a quarter, says the site's down. I don't even blink an eye. I wait 4 hours, the site comes back because that server that they're paying for, something happened, it had a hiccup, it gets rebooted. I don't stress about it anymore. I've told them this. For the most part, it's not an issue, but I would rather be on my server, but I charge more for my servers because I'm then, actually, let me rephrase that. I don't. I actually charge less. If you come to me, you save $50 a month because I control everything. If I have to manage a different server, I have to then deal with that layer of communication with that company. So there's that. Anyway, so I want to kind of be respectful of time. I want to ask you another question though here. Based on your experience and where you're doing this now for 10 years as well and whatnot, if someone came to you right now, new, younger person than us, a quarter of our age, which is sad to say, and they wanted to get into WordPress development, it's 2025, or they wanted to get into in the space in some capacity, what advice would you give?
Look for niches. I think it's a conversation that's being had a lot in the WordPress space at the moment. A couple of the Facebook group there's been conversations recently. The admin bar guys did a survey where they looked at, small single operator agencies. And part of their survey, obviously, while it's targeted to a particular sector of the marketplace and their group, started to show that the average revenue was quite low. People weren't making what they thought they should be. But the corollary of that was they were looking at a lot of people that were effectively spitballing. And I'll build a site for $5, or sure, I'll build your entire WooCommerce online experience for $500 because I just need $500 work this week, or pay for my side gig. But digging into that and talking with other people in the different communities, that's not a cross section of where the money is in the WordPress space. It's the next step up where people are identifying niches and identifying areas that aren't well serviced. It's much like what Rapid's doing. Rapid's identified a niche in the marketplace. Right. Well, for us, it's more than a niche. It's a problem space that needs a solution. But the same goes for anyone wanting to come into the WordPress space. Look at the space. Look at the area where you live. Look at the audiences, and look at the problem spaces. And look at ways that you can help in that problem space. I'm very passionate about contributing to the WordPress community and contributing to the WordPress space.
Speaking of that, hold on one second. I have a note here about that. One more thing. Let me see if I have it here. Yeah, I have it right here. But speaking of your contribution, I did look it up. You contributed something just 2 months ago, the hosting handbook repository. Zen Opcache guidance document. Impressive. You have the core contributor badge. I thought that was pretty cool, by the way.
We as a company believe that's important.
Yeah.
And I personally believe it's important.
Yeah.
I'm very active in the hosting group. Also active in the Five for the Future group. And in contributions as part of what conversations we're hoping to have at PressConf this week.
Right.
Mary, if you're listening, we'll be coming for a chat. No, there is a huge importance in anyone that wants to come into the WordPress space, understanding WordPress and the community itself. And the interesting thing about those contributor badges and in contributing is that's not code.
Right.
Even though I'm a coder.
Right. That's
not code.
Right.
That's actually the documentation team and the hosting team. We build recommendation documents, and we publish. We've just published the 6.8 document last week, and that involved probably 10 or 20 people looking at those handbooks and looking at the track records and looking at the PHP posts. PHP in WordPress, even though we're now at PHP 8.4. PHP 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, and 8.4 are still marked as beta only.
Right.
Because there hadn't been any focus on it for a little while. So we pushed very hard to get a bunch of track tickets resolved, and core got involved as well in some of the core team. And we closed out all the track tickets that made PHP 8.0, 8.1, and 8.2 a blocker.
Yeah.
So they are no longer beta. 8.3 technically is no longer a beta either. And also 8.4, interestingly, they won't come out of beta until we hit 10%. Right. So we have an internal policy in the core community that says before we say it's not a beta product, we need at least 10% of the ecosystem using it. So I think 8.3 is at about 8.9 or 9% of our community space. So once it hits 10, we'll do the same thing. We'll push it out. So contributing, again, to answer that question, what can people do? Get involved. Join make.wordpress.org. Hang around. One of the craziest things, and unfortunately we're not going to, the cadence is now changing, but one of the craziest things that anyone could ever do is show up at a launch party.
Right.
It's 15 or 30 minutes of your life where you watch the process, and there's a bunch of people in the different teams calling in and checking in, and there's a bunch of test runs, and then there's a countdown. They release and then there's a 15 to 20-minute mad dash where everyone at
Right.
the launch parties responsible for installing it on their platforms, installing it on their servers, installing it on their infrastructure, and reporting back that they've got success.
Right.
It's a silly little event. It's only half an hour,
So stressful.
but it's not even stressful. It's
not
actually
stressful.
kind of fun.
It's fun.
For
I've been
nerds.
there, yeah.
It's a bunch of nerds nerding out,
Right.
but get involved in WordPress. But you don't need to be a coder to do that.
Right. Two more questions for you. Yeah.
Get involved in the test team.
Yeah.
Or get involved in documentation.
Right. I have two more questions. First one you should know the answer to. So 3 tools. People like to know what tools other people in the space use. Business owners, developers, yourself. What are your 3 go-to tools on a daily basis?
Slack.
That's fair.
We live in Slack.
Yeah.
Rapid is an entirely disconnected, no office company.
Right.
75 staff all on Slack 24 hours a day. I would say these days that's my biggest go-to tool. ChatGTP and its various derivatives are a part of how we do business these days.
Right.
We use ChatGPT in many parts of our platform. We use AI now in many parts of our platform. We use it to help us manage our test building. We use it to help manage our documentation. We have a real-time live online support platform, with live chat. But sitting in front of it, we have a fully loaded AI tool that actually is currently responding to between 20 and 25% of all our tickets.
Okay.
Successfully,
Nice.
with happy customers going, thanks, Finn. Various combinations of AI right across our platform. And I guess the last tool that is my go-to day to day. Look, it's an entire ecosystem of developer tools that start with GitHub.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Real quick, on the issue that you mentioned, on your ticketing system, I'm curious, what do you use for ticketing?
We use a platform called Intercom.
Okay, yeah, I know it. Yeah.
It's natively integrated into our dashboard. We built our own entire hosting infrastructure with our own native dashboard. Again, our customers are... The CEO of one of our partner companies calls our dashboard the Soccer Mum dashboard. Of course, anyone can use it.
Right. Nice.
And we're running, our customers are running, 64 core VPSs, but they don't know about it.
Right. Yeah. No reason.
They've got buttons that say, what's my WordPress plugins doing?
Right.
What's my backups doing? As a part of that, we natively integrated Intercom into our entire dashboard. So live messaging, live chats, live ticketing systems, and Finn, our AI tools.
I only asked because
product.
the ticketing system we use for our agency, I'm on the free level because that's all I really needed. I left Help Scout, went to somewhere else. I just got an email today.
That's a good product, though.
It is.
It's,
But we left it 2 years ago, which was fine. I wanted to save some money, and I did. Yeah. Well, the one I'm on now, the free level is going away in June.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
So I'm like, I'm looking now for, I might check out like Fluent support, I think. Yeah.
Fluent support. I've got customers, Buddy Boss customers, some of our Buddy Boss community customers use Fluent support to manage their ticketing for their websites.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I really need. So
the whole Fluent suite is a great set of products.
I've been really diving
what Jewel and the team do there is amazing.
I've been diving into the community lately for 2 communities I'm trying to build. One for a running thing, one for another business idea, because the Buddy Boss was too much. It was more than what I need for that purpose. And then I just heard about it again, about Fluent, and I've been diving into the last week. It's really pretty cool, except I don't like the lack of design control. It's almost like you click portal, you go to another page, it doesn't match.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, I guess this is the challenge with all those things. It's like, see, in the WordPress space, we've been conditioned that we can change anything, hack anything. Right. We can stick another plugin in and it will do it the way we want it.
You can too, the Fluent community, it's still so new and different. Yeah.
There's a whole suite of APIs and tools that are underneath Fluent. But it's not PHP, it's React and all those, modern technologies. So it does feel a bit like a wrapper.
Yeah. It honestly reminds me of Genesis, where Genesis had all its settings separate than the WordPress space completely, which that's why I never used it, honestly. So anyway, all right.
But in terms of usability for the end user,
it's perfect.
People love it, and they're pushing through 3,000 or 4,000 sites now. I think Jules was saying only recently I bumped into him at WordCamp Asia, and they're talking about their growth. And there are other great products out there too, like ShoreDash, which is the new tool. It's still in alpha, but again, that team over there have really focusing on this space as well. Right. So I think as there's a big future in community building in the WordPress space, and Rapid sitting there at the back going, we'll be ready to help you all when you get successful.
All right, last
question. Of course, those Ajax requests don't serve themselves.
Last question, where can people find you if they want to reach out?
Oh, look, I'm on LinkedIn. You can visit rapid.cloud. Take a look at our servers. We have some free products coming out. We have a free trial product that people can have a look at our new dashboard. We've got a brand new dashboard coming out on the 15th of May, just before WordCamp Europe, which adds a heap of new features in the platform. Because we're a managed host, we very much like to control everything that happens in our product.
Of course.
And we're also very agile. We can turn around developer changes in our dashboard in reaction to what customers ask for.
Right.
And we will always do that. We'll always remain very agile. So we've got a brand new product coming out. But yeah, LinkedIn. Cool. Just Google me or LinkedIn me.
Yeah, I'll link to that in the show notes as well. So.
Only too happy to chat to anyone. And look, as I said, I talk a lot about Rapid, but I also talk a lot about product.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about Make and the community. So anyone that wants to chat about community, anyone that wants to get involved in the community, reach out and say hi.
Nice.
If you do decide to join make.wordpress.org, where's Rapid is my handle there as well.
Right on. Okay. Well, again, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And maybe I'll see you at an upcoming event. I mean, there's always a chance I might make WordCamp Europe. Sure, we'll see.
WordCamp Europe's going to be amazing. Basel in Switzerland.
Yeah, Basel. Yeah. I went last year
Lots
to Italy.
of good food. Lots of good conversations.
Italy was awesome. So anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Torino was fun.
Yeah. Were you there?
Yeah.
Oh, I was there. I didn't know. We didn't know each other then. Dang it. I was there.
We didn't know each other, but yeah.
Probably in a photo nearby. I guarantee you if you find a photo. Yeah. I'm going to look now.
There's a good chance that it was.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks, Wes. I appreciate it. Again, thanks, Wes, for joining me on the podcast. It was great having you. Some great information there. So, let's check them out over on LinkedIn profile or rapid.cloud as well. So, all right. Moving on, segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's tip, it's actually a website called datablist.com, DATAB, the letter B, LIST, so datablist.com. I found this by accident. I was looking for a sample set of data to import into a CRM I was testing out, a CSV file, and I found it. I just kind of Googled it and found it. So it's datablist.com. It's free. Downloaded the CSV file, imported it, and Bob's your uncle. There you go. All right, wrapping it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or use the speak pipe function of the website. If you want to support the show, become a Patreon. That'd be great. You can also buy me a coffee there as well on the website. You can become a sponsor. You can fill out the form. I'll get back to you. We can talk about that. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out, do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.